And good afternoon. It's Monday, 1 o'clock. As you can hear the sirens announcing our beginning of the Deal Doctor live stream. Just kidding. Anyway, it's just one of the joys of being in the Diamond office, which is a lovely office, except for the occasional siren going by. So we'll let that pass. All right. Let's talk about the cautions when you get into waiving inspections and guaranteeing appraisals and so on. Those are the two biggies that we're having a lot of issues with that I want to address: how to protect yourself, how to protect 5-star, and how to make the buyer aware unequivocally that what the risks are in doing that. First of all, let me say, we are not suggesting that the agents don't do guaranteed appraisals or that they don't waive inspections, because sometimes that's the only way to win. But we can't do those things without also exercising due diligence on behalf of our clients. Part of doing due diligence is making sure that doing either of those things will not damage them, our clients, financially, that it won't put them in a financial risk to the point that they could ultimately lose the house or end up in some very very serious financial situations. So there are times when it is appropriate to waive inspections in order to win an offer. There are times that it's appropriate to do an appraisal guarantee. But we have to, first of all, take into account what the buyer's financial capabilities are. And the only way to do that is to have the conversation before you go out and show them properties. Again, it goes back to what I call CITO, CITO, an acronym for come into the office. Come into the office or someplace, if it's a Zoom call or meeting in a conference room somewhere, something, whatever that venue is, it's important that you make it crystal clear what the consequences might be if they go down the road of waiving inspections or guaranteeing an appraisal. Now, some of you who are in 5-Star Classroom, which is our venue for our platform for new agents, will notice that both Kim and Tracy have posted the 5-Star Real Estate Preoffer Addendum. And so that's the first thing I'm going to talk about right after I talk about Cito. Come into the office. I have preached this for 30 years, that I will not go out and start showing a buyer homes until I have had a face-to-face meeting with them and asked them all sorts of questions about their financial capability, about what they're looking for in a home, and all of those kinds of things. In today's market, asking them about their financial wherewithal is very, very important. And it's important to have these conversations before you go out and start showing them homes, because the time to try to explain all of this is not when you're sitting there writing an offer, because it's not the right environment. They're not focused on what you're saying. They're focused on winning that dream home that they just walked into. So in your initial meetings, those of you that are having them, and I hope more and more of you will have them, in your initial meetings, talk to them about the waiving inspections or guaranteeing appraisals, and what that all means, how it all works, and do they have the financial capability, or are they concerned about assuming that level of risk? It's really important that that conversation takes place well ahead of writing any offer. So one of the things that we recommend strongly is reviewing the pre-offer addendum with them at that first meeting. Not when you sit down to write the offer, but in worst case, when you sit down to write the offer. The pre-offer addendum goes through a whole list of things that they can do, like having inspections and what the consequences are if you choose to waive inspections. It talks about title work and their right to review title work. It talks about the appraisal guarantee, I believe, along with a number of well and septic inspections and all of those things. And they are required to initial every line, every paragraph that indicates that they have in fact read and understand that they are taking on the responsibility. It's not on Five Star's shoulders when they sign an addendum or sign the pre-offer addendum saying, you have these opportunities, you have these rights, here they are, do you understand them? If so, initial and sign here. Another option is that when you waive inspections, particularly with buyers who may not be experienced, but frankly, in this market, I would do it with everyone. And that is, in the other provisions, either handwrite or type in big letters, you can change the font on dot loop, that the buyer acknowledges and accepts any and all consequences from waiving inspections and or guaranteeing the appraisal. That puts the burden on them. Should they ever come back and say, well, no, it was Don Phelan, my realtor, who suggested that I waive the inspections or that I do a $25,000 appraisal guarantee. Let's talk about appraisal guarantees just a moment. Appraisal guarantees are helping agents win for their clients. But sometimes that the repercussions of that are not fully explained. The buyer doesn't understand that maybe a year from now or 6 months from now, their situation may change and they may need to sell the house. What's going to happen in that likelihood or in that possibility? Well, the likelihood is they're going to lose a bunch of money. These are things that we probably should be explaining to them and getting their acknowledgement in writing that they understand what we have explained to them. Again, this session right now is as much about protecting the agents and Five Star as it is about protecting our clients, the buyers in this particular case. I got a call this morning from a very angry buyer client who waived inspections. The box was checked. The situation was explained. They went to the closing, signed a hold harmless agreement saying that they waived inspections, walked into the house and found a number of things which were not, which they didn't expect. Well, they didn't expect them because they didn't have inspections performed. Of course they didn't expect them. The seller's disclosure form did not disclose many of these particular issues. And to that degree, or for that reason, they may have some legal recourse against the seller for breach of contract or breach of seller's disclosure of condition. But that's between the buyer and the seller, not the agent. If the agent has made it very, very clear that they are going into this and they are buying a pig in a poke, if you will. It's not a situation where the agent should be responsible if that agent has done everything possible to make sure that the buyers understand the risks that they're taking, and the only way they can ever prove that is if they have that in writing, that the buyers understand that if they waive inspections, that means they're going in there completely blind as to the condition of that property. If they make a appraisal guarantee, they understand that they are paying above the appraisal price, which is not necessarily the market price, by the way. The market price is actually whatever anyone will pay for it. The appraisal price, the appraisal is done for the protection of the mortgage company, not the buyer. That's a very often misunderstood concept there. But the appraisal is there to protect the mortgage company, that they are not loaning out too much money to the buyer. And so that may not be the market price. It may be that appraiser's opinion on any given day. It's a snapshot in time. It depends on what comparables are available at that moment. It could change the very next day. It could go up. It could go down. There's no magic in the appraisal price. It's simply not, the definitive price or value of the property. So, but there is risk if you go over the appraisal price, that if you have to sell in a reasonably short period of time, whatever that is, or if the market goes down, that you may wind up underwater on the value of the home. That needs to be disclosed to the buyer in very clear terms, and then you need to get it in writing that they understand what the risks are. I hope that's clear. I've tried to make it very clear. Again, I'm not suggesting that agents don't do them. I know that some agents won't waive inspections, and they won't do appraisal guarantees, and that's their choice. It may be a safe way to go, and I completely understand them, and that is their right to do their business the way they want to. I also know that both of those things, waiving inspections and appraisal guarantees, have won offers for buyers where other competing offers have lost. So it's more an issue about we need to disclose very clearly and get the proof in writing that we did disclose. For example, as I said, putting in big bold letters, buyer acknowledges risks associated with waiving inspections and or appraisal guarantee, and hereby accepts that risk. I'm going to go back to this call I got this morning from a very upset buyer. Part of the problem is that they didn't have inspections. They waived inspections. They were informed of the risks. They went into the house, and the house had issues in it which were not listed on the seller's disclosure of condition form. Well, that buyer may have legal recourse against that seller, but it's not an issue that involves 5 Star, particularly if that agent had a document that was signed that unequivocally, clearly said that they acknowledge and accept the risks associated with waiving an inspection or doing an appraisal guarantee, for example. But nevertheless, waiving an inspection does not give the seller the right to lie or withhold information that they are aware of on the seller's disclosure form. So again, when these issues come up, we try to look at it from all sides and see if there is a solution that doesn't involve somebody coming after 5-star after we've done our best to disclose. I want to talk about one other small thing and then probably make it a short day. When your sellers indicate that they want to wait to review offers, first of all, some associations will allow that, some won't. For example, WMLAR will not allow that. WMLAR's rules say that a seller cannot withhold, or an agent cannot withhold presentation of offers until a certain date. They simply won't allow it. They say that the seller or the listing agent must present all offers as soon as is reasonable as possible per the occupational code. I understand their reasoning, and that's all well and good. The caveat here, though, is that the seller doesn't have to sign an offer that is presented at any particular time. So an agent, a WMLAR agent who gets an offer may present it immediately, and the seller may say, you know what, I'm going to wait until Friday or Tuesday or Wednesday, and then I'll make up my mind. And in the meanwhile, they may get a bunch of other offers. And in the meanwhile, that first offer may expire and no longer be enforceable. So I understand their logic, and it's important that you check with your individual associations to know what the rules are as it regards holding offers for presentation until a later date. Let me explain that using the words, and I've heard them several times over the last week alone, deadline for offers is put right on the listing on the MLS. First of all, we cannot put anything on the MLS in regard to presentation of offers or delayed showings or delayed submission. Nothing can go on the data form that isn't written and signed by the seller on the listing contract. So, first of all, whatever you put on that listing contract must be reflected on the multiple listing data information. We just can't simply arbitrarily say, let's say, deadline for offers. The problem with the words deadline for offers is this. It sets up a situation where what happens if there are no offers? What happens after that? It suggests that any offers after that deadline will not be reviewed at all. Well, that may not necessarily be the case. If you've presented offers and your seller doesn't like any of them, they don't have to accept them just because you put on the listing deadline for offers. The better language, I believe, is in dot loop, but the better language to put on your listing contract and in the marketing comments on the multiple listing is seller requests no showings until, if you want to delay showings, for example, and will not review offers prior to Monday at 5 p.m., for example. Frankly, I use that one a lot when I list a house. I put on the listing contract, seller requests no showings until Thursday, date, and will review any and all offers no sooner than Monday's 5 o'clock date. That way, the seller can have the opportunity of showing the property, getting maximum exposure in a compressed period of time, getting the offers and reviewing them and presenting them to the seller all at once. And I get to take the weekend off. Imagine that. It's about managing your career. We're all a little crazy right now, I think we would all agree, running around on the weekends late at night trying to satisfy our clients, and to some extent we have some ability to control our careers even in this crazy market. So if your seller wants to delay showings and or not review offers prior to a specific time, then that language has to be clear that seller will not review offers prior to a specific date. Using the words deadline for offers is a bit misleading, and so I encourage you to change that up just a bit. So, any questions, Dom? Okay, well, I'm going to make it a little short today because that's really important stuff. Pull up the FSRE Preoffer Addendum. I know that it's on the 5-Star Connect page in the files. I know that it's in classrooms. I know that it's on the 5-Star Leaders resource page. Review it, and I will also tell you that we are going to, over the course of the next couple of weeks, write it even stronger, make it an even stronger statement that has more teeth and therefore protection in it for 5-star agents and the broker. So, if you have no other questions or no questions, thanks for joining. I hope this helps, and I'll see you next week.